It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level when we shut down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The You Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. You Like.
And then Peter Susa. I had a quick story to tell you about these guys. Peter Susa.
From high atop Central Texas, it's the Pete Sousa Show, presented by the Rogue Media Network.
Here we are. We are in Flower Mound, Texas, and it is a Monday, and there is so much going on. Obviously, there's a lot to cover between the Cowboys, the Big 12, specifically Baylor. And I also have a best case scenario for the Big 12 today where I think the Big 12 could actually – I think there's 3 teams percolating that can make the college football playoff. That's what I think. And Slovacics supports my opinion. That's why we're here. Thanks to Slovacics. Make sure you stop when you're on I-35. I know my good buddy Christy Soto is coming into town for Baylor, Kansas State, flying in from Miami. She's going to stop at Slovacics because she's going to fly into Dallas. Christy, a news personality in Florida now, formerly, obviously, of KWTX. That's where her and I linked up. I'm still in touch today. But she's going to stop at Slovacics because that's what people do when they get on 35 and they head towards Waco from the DFW or vice versa. And if you're looking for a car in the same area, You got to stop at Socorro Family Ford. Also remember, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers will get you out of trouble if you find yourself in it through a driving mishap. Of course, always remember Crawford Austin Properties and First National Bank of Central Texas. Dan Ingham, take it to the bank. He is now 0-4, by the way. Shh. Only person doing worse with his college football picks might be me. Let me get my background TV set up here. It's always important. You know, what's on in the background. I'll tell you what was on last night over here. Christy and I watched a thriller, as I'm expecting that you guys did as well. The Dallas Cowboys tie with the Green Bay Packers. That's right, a tie. Like kissing your sister? No, actually, it felt more like a win if you're a Cowboys fan. And we're going to talk to Calvin Watkins about that. So honored to have from the Dallas Morning News, Calvin Watkins. Calvin left AT&T Stadium last night at 1:20 a.m. I don't know that because he called me to check in. I know that because I checked his Twitter this morning. So we're very much in appreciation of someone like Calvin taking the time to join us today after being there for that fireworks display in Arlington. Now, I want to – well, hold on a second. Oh, yeah, sorry, Kelvin. Thank you very much, Scotty. Scotty's keeping me on track. Calvin Watkins. Okay, so the game last night. That's why you have great producers. I mean, seriously, pretty cool. It's Calvin. It's Calvin. Okay, Scotty, come up here. Seriously, what are you doing? Now you're totally screwing me up. Honestly, what is it, dude?
This is why we need you back in the studio, Pete. We need you here.
I know.
I was asking.
Your mic is a little hot, just so you know. Go ahead.
Okay, well, your mic isn't even plugged in, so we're doing the same.
Hold on. Let's fix this because was this an issue the other day?
Issue of the Monday.
How about this? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Is it louder now? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Check.
Sounds the same to me, but it does not sound like a microphone. It sounds like your laptop.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tap on it. Yeah, it's not. We're not hearing your mic. We're hearing your computer.
Oh man. Okay, hold on. Stay with me. We're gonna work this out right now because I got some really interesting Cowboy points.
So while you figure your microphone out, I was trying to text you subtly to say I believe his name is Calvin Watkins, and it sounded like you were saying Kelvin Watkins.
No, it's Calvin. Okay, yeah, I just say it weird, like
you're just a Northeasterner.
Yeah, man. We gotta fix this mic up though, because I think we had an issue with it over the weekend, and of course that's what we like to do. We like to wait till right now to fix it because that's kind of how I roll. Because I can be an idiot. How about now? Better?
No.
Better now? No. Okay. Now it's still same.
Yep. And I cannot select your microphone from my seat. I'm trying to.
All right. Let's take a 1-minute break. I want to see if I can fix this. All right.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Susa to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code Susa. That's SOUSA. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
How about now? Better, right? Yeah. All right, there we go. We're back. So sorry for the delay. Let's get started. Chris Visser checking in, saying hello. That's our guy. He's got a set up with Kelvin this morning, and we can't wait. Okay, I have a seriously interesting take on this Cowboys-Packers game last night, more specifically, the finish. Now, for somebody who worked for an NBA organization, and part of that job, right, I was very dialed in as a public relations flack for the 76ers. as to it was actually our job to find out who was going to work the clock, whether it was the 24-second shot clock, the game clock, the scoreboard, and honestly, who does official stats, right? Like through Harvey Pollack, basically. He kind of was, Laura Price used to call Harvey Pollack and his group the Stats Mafia, right? Harvey has passed away, RIP. He was a legend, still is, the guy who wrote the 100 down that Wilt Chamberlain held up. He really started statistics in the NBA. Truly. Look it up. I don't have the time this morning. But I could do a whole show on Harvey Pollack. I mean, amazing guy, legendary figure, real character. But Harvey would oversee basically all the hiring of the folks who worked at the scorers table at the Philadelphia 76ers home games, okay? I'm not saying that there was ever anything nefarious going on. Harvey was really awesome, right? As far as like his ability to, he was very by the book. You know, I don't remember him giving anybody extra assists. Like if Andre Miller was close to a triple-double, Harvey wasn't going to dole out an extra assist for Andre Miller to get a triple-double. It just wasn't how Harvey and his crew worked. However, the guys who worked the clock, the shot clock and game clock, were Philly guys. Okay, I remember Joe Morgan worked the shot clock. Kevin Fisher, I sent you a message this morning. I see you're in here. Kevin, who was the guy that was the Temple Sports Information Director? I think he worked for Temple in sports information, not the director, but then ended up with the Sixers. He ran the clock, okay? Again, not a nefarious, compromised person, but a Philadelphian, right? He understood the breaks of the game and how they fall your way if you're playing at home. Now, the end of that Cowboys game last night, let's go right to the end, okay? The Packers are clinging to life. They extend a drive. They get a fourth down conversion. I think, by the way, they were like 11 of 14 on third and fourth downs, which is scary, okay? Matt Eberflus needs to get that situation worked out, much like Dave Aranda needs to get his situation worked out at Baylor. The issue for both those guys could be that it comes down to you just don't have the dudes, okay? But to be clear, at the end of the game, when the Packers, Jordan Love, foolishly, poor clock management, it happens in the NFL. This isn't like Jordan Love. It's not like Jordan Love is a terrible quarterback and he can't think his way through this stuff. But they were rushed and stuff happens. And his pass to the end zone is deflected and gets knocked down. The game should have been over. That 1 second that was left on the clock is an either way 1 second. By no means, if you let that clock go to zero, is the NFL or the Green Bay Packers or anybody else coming from on high looking for an investigation of that 1 second. I'm not saying fire the clock guy, you know, put him. No, I'm not. But I am saying, like, dude, what are you guys doing? You literally have, that's a home field advantage. Things like that, a fraction of a second here or there, you control that. Again, and I'll give you a little more context to this as to how this works in the NBA playoffs, specifically the finals. This is such a, like I mentioned, the word compromise position that the NBA, in fact, once the playoffs start, will send a representative or an employee of a team that's not in the playoffs to work the clock at playoff games. Because let's face it, it's honestly something that you can finagle a little. A half a second here, a half a second there can mean everything. And last night, it literally meant the ball game for the Cowboys. So when they say control the controllables, and look, Brian Schottenheimer's not looking for the clock guy, you know, this morning. I can guarantee he's made a comment about it. Whether it was offhand to his staff post-game or whether it was something to a media member off the record, okay? You can guarantee that Brian Schottenheimer has inquired about that. So that's something that I find to be pretty interesting. Okay. The game in itself, I have very good news for the Cowboys, by the way. And I did a little homework on this. Look, the Packers or the Cowboys, I mean, you can't tell me the Packers are a team that we have hyped up to be Super Bowl bound, right? We talked to Tom Silverstein on Saturday or on Friday about this, beat writer for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And earlier in the week or earlier in the season, I've talked to other people around the Packers, and they are convinced that this is their opportunity. This is a year for Green Bay, especially with the addition of Michael Parsons. And one thing about Michael Parsons that Tom Silverstein told us that we actually saw come to fruition on Sunday night, he's kind of just scratching the surface as to where he belongs and what he knows in that Packers system. As the season begins to evolve on the field and off the field, right, as far as what he's learning schematically, he will become more and more dangerous, okay? There's no question about that to me. I don't think the Cowboys are that far off. I don't. The defense is a disaster. I understand, okay? But they didn't look like they were outmatched by the Packers, like overmatched or overwhelmed, not even close. And if you go back to week 1, their game against the 4-0 Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, they looked dynamite. They did. The Cowboys now, and this is kind of a knock on the defense, how many teams do you know in the NFL that score 40 points twice and are 1-0-1? That's a shock, okay? But it's a reality right now for the Cowboys and their defense. But when you look at, and I wrote it down, I got it right here, okay? When you look at their schedule coming up, okay? This is really good news, Cowboys fans. You heard it here first. Honestly, I don't know why other people aren't talking about this. The Cowboys are about to play the Jets, the Panthers, the Commanders, and the Broncos, okay? Those teams have a combined 3 wins right now. Those are their next 4 opponents. As far as if you look down the stretch, and I know we're early in the season, the Cowboys will not play another team with a winning record as it stands today until they play Philadelphia the weekend before Thanksgiving on November 23rd. There is nothing about this offense that tells me that they can't certainly win the next 4 games. Okay. And you win the next 4 games. What are you, 5-1-1? I mean, that ain't bad, dude. Right? Or yeah, you're 5-2-1. You're 5-2-1. I mean, and then you're right there in the thick of the division. Now, I don't believe that they can track down the Eagles. The Eagles are amazing in a sense where they came out yesterday like gangbusters. They literally just beat the brakes off Tampa in the first half. And then in the second half, they did what they had to do to win the football game, just like they did against the Rams last week. And it's magical, and a lot of it is confidence. And the ball bounces your way when you're a reigning Super Bowl champion with a guy like Jalen Hurts, who, by the way, his team is now, the Eagles, 18-0 when he starts and finishes a game. There's a moxie about him, a mentality about him, son of a coach, the confidence. Long way of saying I don't see the Eagles falling off anytime soon. That has nothing to do with me being an Eagles fan. That just has to do with me being somebody who's paid attention to this league and this sport for the better part of my lifetime when I could start to pay attention, right? Back to the mornings when my parents didn't know that I would sneak downstairs on the morning of a Super Bowl, and I'm talking like Super Bowl 14, right? And I would watch every single NFL Super Bowl recap and just recite the John Facenda lines, you know? And this is one about the Eagles, okay? He said this about the Steelers once. Somebody wrote it for him. And it was about the Steelers coming back to beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, right? This was played at the Rose Bowl. Great teams aren't always great. They're just great when they have to be. And you could say that about the Eagles, right? They are that team. Now, as it relates to the Cowboys, as I go back and we'll wrap up here, I think that this team is in position to do some special things this year. Special may be a reach, but I think they can certainly make the playoffs. And we're going to ask Mr. Watkins about this when we talked to him after this break. If Jerry does plan on doing anything with some of those draft picks he acquired in that trade for Micah Parsons, where they got Kenny Clark in the draft picks, right? I'm curious to see what he thinks about that, and if there is a possibility that Jerry might make a move that could impact this season that could make the Cowboys better. But right now, I know it feels weird after the tie, but it's actually way better than we thought it was going to feel. I think we can all agree on that. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Savachix, is back after this short break.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble does bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Yo, okay, so we're waiting on Calvin. He's getting on now. I just got a message from Kevin Fisher about, because I was mentioning to him, you know, working for the Sixers, you would have a little bit of home cooking there along press row and you know, working the clock and stuff. And Kevin also wisely pointed out, Yeah, well, how about this? A Philadelphia, probably. So you had a Philadelphian working the scores table, and you probably had 3 Delco refs, right? One of which could have been Tim Donnelly. You won't, or Tim Donovan. You won't see him anymore. No, it was Donnelly. So yeah, the Cowboys game was amazing, and a couple of the things. One of the things that I noticed last night, Trayvon Diggs, his absence late. Heard he was banged up, but that's a guy obviously that Dallas is going to need to be like 150%. Not only banged up, or not even banged up, but also playing the right way. Leo foul. That speaking of playing the right way, that penalty late in the game, and everybody said it. You don't want to pile on a guy for making that one mistake, but boy, he had like 3 or 4 steps where he could have at any time, it felt like, gotten out of harm's way there, right? Or not created harm, and had that penalty that extended the drive and just continued to help the Packers and their cause. A couple other things I noticed that I wanted to bring up from that Cowboys game. Javonte Williams. I mean, that is a huge plus for Dallas. 20 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. The fact that it's not, and again, we can relate it to Baylor right now. We have seen production from their running game, but as I have felt, it's got to be Sawyer Robertson, right? If they're going to produce and score points against anybody else but Oklahoma State. That game was just wide open, and we'll talk about that after we talk to Calvin Watkins. But the fact of the matter is, for Dallas to have a sound running game, and Dak Prescott, who was playing just about as well as he has played, right? I mean, it's been great to see him playing so well this year. And last night was no exception to that. 31 of 40, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That is something that I think when we look at this and Dak Prescott and the mistake-free football that he has played this season has been something special. I really have felt that way. And I think that he, like, when you look at him physically, and the way that he has moved around the pocket, moved outside of the pocket, you're definitely getting the best version of this guy, which is one of the reasons, and we can take this back, and this could frustrate Dallas fans in general, but, a tip of the cap to the Cowboys in a sense, and I know Scotty has an issue with this, but like when you think about the investment they made in Dak Prescott, right, that is a sound investment in a sense that this is a guy who not only has a unique skill set and has proven that he could win in the NFL when he was younger and at the top of his game, but he's also taking very good care of himself, right? Like mentally and physically, like mind, body, spirit. Like this guy is moving into the back 9 of his career, moving and playing and talking about he wants to play well into his 40s, right? He's shown us that that's quite possibly something that he really could do. And so that's got to be exciting for Cowboys fans. I mean, the offense is not the issue. The defense is. And another thing I saw last night, which Calvin actually talked about post-game, I'm getting so many text messages and phone calls. I'm about to throw this goddamn thing against the wall. And I need to turn it over in case Scotty or Visser needs me. But I have all these people in my life who are actually being nice people. They just want to connect. But now is not the time, right? We're talking big time stuff. But when you look at Matt Eberflus and his defense, I don't know if it's too complicated, but there were times, last night you saw it. Diggs was a little pissed. There seemed like there was a lack of communication. Watching a Calvin Watkins post-game talk about this, and I see he's getting on here, getting set to join us. There was a little bit of, there's been miscommunication in that secondary at times. And for a defense that has struggled this year, being buttoned up in moments like that, I would imagine to the utmost of importance. All right, let's get set now. Scotty, are we ready for Calvin? we're giving him, we'll give him about 15. Yeah, Calvin can take his time, dude. He's Calvin Watkins. By the way, I mentioned earlier, this is a guy joining us now, by the way, who didn't leave the arena, or should I say AT&T Stadium, till 1:20 a.m. Let's bring him on now, because I guarantee he looks like $1 million. I mean, thank you so much, Calvin. You literally you leave AT&T Stadium at 1:20 a.m. I told people, not because he checked in with me, because I saw the tweet. All right, just so everybody knows.
I saw it too when I left the stadium.
So you leave at 1:20. What time did you get home? What time do you finally shut it down?
I got home around 2. And then really on my way home, I stopped at 7-Eleven because I wanted something. And I was in the parking lot talking to a colleague for about 20 minutes because we were thinking about getting a drink, but we were trying to figure out there's nothing open. And then when I stopped at 7-Eleven, got like a water and a Danish. and the newspaper it's at the 7-Eleven. So then I text my editor. I said, "Look at the paper," because we got early deadlines. So
yeah,
and I really didn't get to bed till like. And then there's a show I watch on HBO called what's
Task.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm on it. I didn't watch it last night. You watched it last night?
I watched it last night. Yeah, I watched it on my laptop because I got HBO Max on my laptop. So I didn't really go to bed till like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yo, that show is that good. I can't wait to watch today. And some of that stuff, being in Texas. So the guy who actually wrote and created the show, I went to high school with him, Martin Inglesby. Really? Not Martin Inglesby, Brad Inglesby. Okay. But you can tell he said, I know people from that Philly area so well. It would almost be like I'd be compromising myself writing about another group of people. But I can tell he pulled off, and I'm not going to spoil it. They pulled from some of our biker stuff here. Some of that Twin Peaks activity that we had back in Waco about 10, 12 years ago. I can tell they're kind of pulling from all that, like the real life drama that they build. That's a great show, man.
It is. There was another show similar. I think it was on Apple. It's called Dope Thief.
Dope Thief is very good too. Another Philly show.
Yeah, because they got the biker gangs in, I guess, the rural part of PA. A lot of people don't know about biker gangs. Is big up in the East Coast.
They are the pagans were bad news, brother. When you and I were growing up. I'm happy we never had to bump into that. You bumped into any of the pagans, it was not good news.
No, it was not good. You was in trouble. And if you owed them money, you were really in trouble. So,
in trouble. All right, so Calvin, are the Cowboys in trouble? Did last night? Let me ask you a direct question. Did last night feel like more of a win or a loss, if you had to judge?
It felt more like a loss. I thought the Packers kind of Matt LaFleur. I think he called a terrible game last night. I think he's trying to be too cute, and he played for the tie at the end there. But that's another story for another day. But I felt like the Cowboys lost that game. It was a game they probably should have won. So if you look at their schedule in the first 4 weeks, that's 2 games that they probably felt they should have won. They should have won in Philly week 1. Let that game get away from them. And obviously they got beat up pretty good by the Bears last week. And, they were in an OT thriller with the Giants. And then last night, they were down, I think 14, whatever it was. And 13. They missed the PAT. They were down 13 and they got back in the ball game somehow. So I felt like and then, the Packers just kind of took charge of that game for a little bit. And I still felt like the tie was a loss in a way. And if you think about it, the Cowboys are probably a 64-yard field goal away from being 0-4. That's how difficult it is right now.
It is scary, but I think there is reason for optimism a little bit when you look at the upcoming schedule. There's certainly the table is set for them to do okay. The question is, I think they can win the next 4 games, but the question is, and you touched on it post game last night, they've done a hell of a job rising up to the level of competition, right? But how are they going to fare against the Jets, at 1 Eastern time, playing at the Meadowlands or, whatever it's called now? Really, how are they going to do with this middling competition? Do you think this is a team that is almost getting keyed up for big time opponents and has the the personality to maybe sort of crawl into some of these dates where they're going to be favored. They're favored next week, and they'll probably be favored the week after against the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't think he can compete with the big-time teams in the conference. However, look what they did last night against the Packers, and they were very competitive against the Eagles. But when I look at the schedule, yeah, I don't know. Monday night's game between the Jets and the Dolphins is going to tell me a lot about the Jets, because I think the Jets are 0-3, and the Jets have been competitive in the first 2 weeks of the season. So to me, that game next week in MetLife Stadium is not a gimme game for the Cowboys. I think it's a 50-50 game. And then they go to Carolina, and they should beat Carolina. And then I think Jane Daniels should be healthy when the Commanders come visiting Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. So that is what really the schedule kind of really starts for them, because after that, then they got to go to Denver, and Denver's playing pretty good. So this is the easiest part of the Cowboys schedule, and they're 1-2-1, right? And then the Jets are playing pretty good. So there's no and yeah, they had a tie with the Packers, a game that the Packers probably should have won because they were up early. And then I thought the Cowboys kind of lost that game down the stretch, but their defense is very hard to believe in the Cowboys with the leaky defense right now.
Yeah, what's the problem? I mean, it seemed like every time we turned around, the Packers were extending another drive on third down or fourth down. Is that a situation for someone like you with the front row seat? Is that just, Matt Eberflus just doesn't have the athletes, or is it the guys are kind of struggling learning the scheme? Because I talked about right before you came on here, I think Trayvon Diggs post game was like, hey, like we were in a cover two and then we weren't, and there's miscommunication. What is it, the chicken or the egg? Do they not have the athletes, or do they just are they working on getting the blueprint down?
A little bit of both. Trayvon Diggs is coming off knee surgery. He played that game with a bad shoulder and a hamstring. Deron Bland was a mid-round pick and became the pick six king, so to speak. And now he's looking like a fifth-round pick, right? And Kyer Elam was traded for a reason 2 years in. So it might be a little bit of personnel. I like Jack Sanborn. He's great in run defense, but pass coverage and in space, he's a liability. The pass rush is just not what it needs to be. So some of it is the personnel. And then Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator, he's in a lot of zone coverages. That's what he does. That's what he plays. He did blitz a little bit more last night. I haven't looked at the numbers, but from the naked eye, it seems as if he dialed it up a little bit by rushing 5 or 6 guys. But for the most part, he's going to play that zone and expect the 7 guys back there to knock passes down. But for whatever reason, guys are slipping through. And like you were saying, on the Diggs on that fourth, it was a fourth down play in overtime. Diggs is trying to tell the safety, "Hey, look, Matthew Golds is going to come to you, so you got to charge on the receiver here because he's going to get the ball." Diggs is smart enough to understand this, and he's trying to tell the safety this. He's going like this, and the safety doesn't respond. And toward the end of the game, Jack Sanborn, he's riding with the tight end. He's doing what he's supposed to do. But he's got to the receiver, Matthew Golden, he's doing what he's supposed to do. And this is Brian Schottenheimer explaining it. You ride the receiver all the way through, but you got to look for the ball. You got to turn your head. If he turns his head, maybe he catches that ball. But because his head is looking at the receiver instead of the quarterback, Jordan Love's like, I'm going to throw it to him, and maybe Golden reaches around Sanborn and makes the catch, right? Maybe, but instead it hits him on the backside, it's incomplete. And then he had 2 other guys there that couldn't catch the ball. So it's a combination of the personnel and the scheme that's not really working for this Cowboys defense.
When you look at the Cowboys as a whole, and offensively, it's been, we talked about the defense. Offense has certainly been in rhythm, right?
Yeah.
How has the passing game been able to survive without CeeDee Lamb? And do you think for the next 3 weeks or however long it is before he comes back that they can keep it going, that they can stay in this rhythm? Because last night they looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, they did. One of the keys for them is getting another pass catcher, and that's George Pickens. When they made this trade, everyone said, well, when the Steelers get rid of receivers, they go downhill. So far, it hasn't happened with George Pickens. He was terrific last night. And, Dak Prescott trusts him. And it is surprising because it takes a while to get that trust with a quarterback, especially when you just got there. But the way Pickens has been saying, this is the best quarterback he's ever had. And Prescott is probably the best quarterback he's ever had. And in the showing, Prescott gets a lot of criticism from the media and from the fans and that kind of thing because he hasn't won a big playoff game. But this is another good start for Dak. Like 2 years ago, he was in the MVP conversation, right? Yeah. And because of a solid season. Last year, he got hurt the hamstring. This year, he's off to another good start. He's a good quarterback, man. Yeah. And they have and his other key, their running game, Devontae Williams, I didn't have a lot of confidence in Devontae Williams when the season started. He had 80 yards rushing last night. The previous week, he had 75 yards rushing. He has been off to a very good start. Next to Dak Prescott, I would say Devontae Williams is probably their second best player on offense. He's been off to a great start. Give the Cowboys coaches a little credit here because their offensive line has lost some people. Lost a starting center, Cooper Beebe. They lost Tyler Booker, the starting right guard. And during that game last night, they lose the left tackle. Tyler got into a concussion. So they somehow been able to move the ball down the field despite these changes in the offensive line. And obviously, Dak Prescott has been phenomenal in the first month of the season.
It's been fun to watch, and it's really fun talking to you. A couple more questions. I know you got a busy day today.
No, it's okay.
When we talk about the Cowboys right now, and it was cool to see, Pickens have a huge catch and CeeDee Lamb, on the sidelines. You were at the game, but what we saw on the monitor, and maybe you saw it too, was CeeDee was really excited. Like you could tell, like you're getting a different vibe from this team this year, at least from afar you are. When you go into the locker room after games, particularly last night, what kind of vibe are you getting as opposed to last year with McCarthy, where maybe it felt like at times the guys were running out the clock? I do feel like you even felt it with the fans last night, and maybe that was one part, Micah, and the excitement. But there was rejuvenation in the building. At least it looked like that. And I'm curious as to what it's like in the locker room post-game and covering this team, getting close to these dudes.
Last night, it was a little disappointment because they felt like they should have won that ball game, and it was a tie. It's like, what does this mean, right? Like we're all trying to figure out, what does this tie mean? And I asked Dak, I said, are you unfulfilled right now? He's like, yeah, I am. So it's they didn't lose the game, but they got a tie, and it's just like, okay. And so I think they're still trying to process what this means. What they need is to beat the Jets next week. They need to get a win badly. And they need to beat Carolina. They need to start stringing some wins together. If not, this thing's going to go south really quick. I think last year with Mike McCarthy and the last year of his deal, along with all the assistant coaches, the Cowboys are like, look, these guys are going to be fired when this thing is over. So we got to basically make a deep playoff run for McCarthy to come back. So it's a different vibe there. This year they know Shotty is not going anywhere. And Brian Schottenheimer has had a really positive attitude with this group, and then they've kind of bought into it. The only thing that's missing is a couple more wins. Right now, 1-2-1 is not going to get it.
What about Schottenheimer? I'm not going to ask you, can you give him a grade because it's too short term, but are you pleasantly surprised by him?
Yeah, I am. When they hired him, I was kind of shocked, as all of us were. But people inside the organization were like, give him a chance. And then someone in the front office has said to me, and they said he's Jason Garrett on another level. And I was like, oh, that's not saying much because you guys didn't do a lot with Jason Garrett. But I get to see the enthusiasm that you have to have as a head coach, the ability to connect with players. Because, as you know, you're a CEO. When you're running your own business, you got to talk to a lot of different people, whether you like them or not, because you need the business, right? And that's as a head coach. You need to talk to all the players, deal with the different personalities and your coaches, and get this thing going to buy in what you're selling, right? And so far, Brian Schottenheimer has done that. He's been really good with the media. The interesting thing is he will wait 20 minutes after a game before he talks to us because he knows Jerry Jones is going to talk. So he's kind of mindful of these things. There's a lot of interviews. So it's so far so good. But the bottom line is you got to win on the field, right? And it's 1-2-1 right now. And it's kind of weird to say that. But last night if they would have lost that game last night, they would have been tied for last in the division with the Giants, right? And that would have been a tough way to go going to face the Jets next week. So they're 1-2-1, and give Shotty some credit for keeping them in these ball games.
Also give him some credit for kind of understanding the media and tip of the cap to him, not trying to make anybody right. That can be a pain in the ass. You can't be two places at once when you're trying to do that stuff. So that's appreciated. And he also, I think, I'm sure Jerry appreciates that. You know how
I'm sure he does.
How he's working with it. Hey, one of the cool moments last night. As I get older, I noticed little stuff, and this kind of almost gave me goosebumps. Micah gets knocked out of bounds, and he bumps into the guy who's holding the sticks. And it's clear, he saw that guy every day for however long he was going to the building. And it's the first time he's seen him since he got traded. And you can tell genuinely he was like, hey, what's up, man? He's got his uniform on. It's in the game, but he's cool. He's talking to people. And I imagine there were a lot of moments like that we didn't see. What do you think that young man dealt with last night emotionally coming back?
We all waited for the Packers to get to the stadium. So they had like 6 buses, and he was like on one of the last buses to get there. And he was pretty calm, when he walked in. He was wearing a nice white suit. And he walked in, and then, he did the warm-ups. The fans acknowledged him. And then his family was there. He has a suite at AT&T Stadium still. So his family was there. His agent was there. So I think it was an emotional night for him after the game. He seemed kind of cool with it. He didn't get a chance to say hi to Brian Schottenheimer or to Jerry Jones, but he did speak to Dak Prescott, and they shared a moment in the middle of the field, as did a lot of players. Micah was a well-liked guy in his locker room. He wasn't perfect, and there's no player that's perfect, right? They wanted him to be more of a leader and more of a team guy and that kind of thing. So he was learning to do that. There was a point where they had moved his locker near Dak Prescott's so he could understand how to connect with people on a broader scale. And those types of things, because he was not a loner, but he had his guys, right? He had his guys, and that's okay. But he was genuinely he's not a bad guy. So I think he was a little bit unfulfilled last night by getting the tie, because you want to win, right? You want to beat your former team. And as the Cowboys players said, we'll see them in January. And I'm like, I don't think you'll see the Packers in January. But hey, that's another story for another day. But I think Micah handled himself well. Considering what was going on last night.
All right, last one for you. Watching the Jerry Jones interview on NBC pregame, and I know you were, you probably got some stuff you gleaned postgame from Jerry, but he's leaving the Easter eggs here and there. Like I'm like, is this dude going to make a trade, or use these draft picks now, or is he going to do something like if he sees this team, if they win the next 2 games, right, which they'll be favored in? Do you think he could make a move to enhance their possibilities to go deeper or to at least make the postseason? Is that something he could do this year?
Yeah, he could do it this year. I don't think he should. Look, 2 first-round picks, right? And that doesn't happen very often. So if you're going to give up one of those first-round picks, it's because you're at the trade deadline, and you're like, we need one player to take us, not to get into playoffs, but to make a deep playoff run. So, for example, if you need an elite pass rusher, they already had one, right? And they just traded him away. But say you go, we need an elite pass rusher because that's what's missing with our football team. And we think this guy could take us to the next level. We can make a deep playoff run. He would make a trade, right? So you have to think about who is worth of a first-round pick as a pass rusher, and then obviously there's going to be a lot of money associated with that player. To me, the moment they made this trade for getting rid of Micah Parsons to get Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks, that told me that you're rebuilding, right? And last night, Brian Schottenheimer kind of let us slip out the bag. He said, this is day 1 of our program. It's a long process. I'm like, well, with the program, long process. Whoa. You should be a title contending team here, but you're a playoff team. But I think they know they're in this rebuilding situation here without really saying it. And Shotty kind of let it slip last night. But back to your question, the only way I can see Jerry trading one of those picks is if he says, you know what, we're playing so good. Myles Garrett, you can take us to the next level. Here, take it. But other than that, I'd be very shocked if they gave up a pick. Because say the Cowboys finish, 7 wins, 8 wins, maybe. Say 7, right? Because they got this tie on their ledger. So now we're saying that might be a top 12 pick now that you have. And you got Green Bay's, and say Green Bay makes a deep playoff run down. They're in the 20s, late 20s. So you can get 2 premium starters right away, and then you get a second-round pick. So you got 3 starters for the 2026 season in a rebuilding phase. So it'd be hard for me to tell Jerry to trade for somebody unless it's a Myles Garrett or Jalen Ramsey or somebody of that ilk that can win some ball games for you and you can get a deep playoff run.
Hey, Calvin Watkins, man, get some rest. You probably won't, but I so appreciate you joining us after that late night last night. And you are a great guy to read. And the more that, these media personalities and journalists like you come on our screen, it's a lot of fun because you got the personality for it. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Let's talk soon.
All right,
Take
you got
care.
it.
All right, bro.
Take care. That's Calvin Watkins. There he goes. And I've been telling you guys, maybe not you guys, but that show Task is really good. It's really, really good. So I'm looking forward to carving out some time to watch that later tonight. But Calvin Watkins does an amazing job. Make sure you check him out on the Dallas Morning News. The Pete Sousa Show continues after this. We'll talk a little Cowboys, a little reaction, and then we got to welcome our boy Scotty Swingler in because we're learning as we go to ask questions about this Baylor team, right? We don't want to throw stones or accusations or be negative. There are questions we got to ask, and there are questions that we got to answer. And I need to know them because I got to try to answer them this weekend or at least ask the right questions when I'm calling Baylor, Kansas State. A game, by the way, which has become critical to both of these teams. Both of them still in the race for the Big 12 title. We're going to talk about the Big 12 as a conference. Obviously, we'll talk about those two teams. Scotty wants to talk about Bad Bunny. Does that have to do with Easter? Easter's not till April, right? We'll be back after this.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at FullwellFertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at GEVI.com to discover more.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Relax with Hemp Delicious.
Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Stability.
The Pete Sousa Show. We are in the DFW today in Flower Mound. The great Christy Hunt is downstairs. You should see Christy, my fiance. She's got this like command center where she works. She's about this tall, by the way, but she sits behind like this bank of computers, you know. And if you've ever met her, I mean, she's not short on answers, right? So she's over there just like managing all these people. And I go downstairs. I mean, like, I go downstairs. It's like, man, there's something important going on in there. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow. I think that's why, like, the cat likes to come hang out in here, because the cat's like, yeah, man, whatever's going on down there, that's way too important. Like, let me go up and hang with this moron talking about sports. By the way, speaking of sports, this is our first text line. Let's see. We got this is Mike from Havertown. Let's see what he says.
Pete, Mike from Havertown, calling about them Eagles. Wanted to get your take as a former football player, former teammate of Todd McShay. Just curious what you think about the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll tell you what, that Jalen Hurts guy, he really finds a way with little to no arm talent to win a lot of football games. I'll hang up and listen. Long time, first time. Thank you.
That's Mike Hagan, by the way. It's actually one of my best friends. But I'll tell you, he's right about that. He clearly knew he was calling in the middle of the show. He just left the message. I will say this about Jalen Hurts. Mike is right about that. I touched on it in the top. What became a joking question becomes a serious point. I love what Jalen Hurts does with his prowess on the football field. Like, he is surgical. And early in his career, I was able to identify what Mike talked about. And I'm not Todd McShay, you know, and I'm not our rest in peace, Bobby Beathard, or anybody that really knows how to break down. You know, I'd be lying to you if I told you that was just something that I do very well. But I kind of know it when I see it. And Jalen Hurts does not have overwhelming arm strength, right? I mean, I noticed that right away, especially when he became the Eagles starter like 3-4 years ago. But man, his ability to overcome all of his physical shortcomings at the position of quarterback and tap into what he does well, man, he's a special guy. And he's so low key. He's really enjoyable. You know, if he was like Dave Aranda, though, and the Eagles lost a couple of games, or we'll put it this way, the Eagles began to lose and sort of find themselves in the crosshairs of the Philadelphia fans again. I do think Eagles fans would respond like Baylor fans respond to Dave Aranda. That brings me to our little welcoming of my main man, Scotty Swingler. I will say Scotty did a phenomenal job once again with the Green and Gold pregame show. Really, really, really good job in a controlled environment this past weekend, which is always nice.
Man, I can't tell you how nice that studio feels. Can't tell you. By the way, before we say anything, happy birthday, Dave Aranda. 49. 49 years old today. Love you, Coach. Happy birthday.
See, now that's what I'm talking about. And now ultimately that's good that you did that, because that's just the kind of man that Scotty Swingler is. Truly.
I'm so happy it's his birthday. I hope he has the best day. I hope he goes to Red Herring tonight and gets the best food and enjoys his family and friends. I love you, Dave. Happy birthday.
It's funny, dude, you know what came up on my memories? Somebody 3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, but it was a couple years ago, tweeted out, happy Friday, everyone except Dave Aranda. And our good friend, hold on. And the reason it was on my radar was because our good buddy, Scotty B, the Baylor King, fired back at this dude and was like, I'm done with you. Okay. Like, he took this guy to task. So hold on. So that brings me to present day. I saw a tweet last night when I was doing just mining for Baylor information from people that might actually know what they're talking about. And you're going to help me with his last name. Connor was a place kicker. Connor Martin tweeted.
I saw his tweets. Yeah.
I'm done with Dave Aranda.
Mm-hmm.
We don't come out ready to play. He kind of spoke about like he kind of reminded me of what you say a lot of times, like, the uninspiring play out of the gate. Ultimately, Baylor wins this game. And, we'll talk about what they did right offensively. And let me start there. And I want to get your opinion on this. So before the season, we knew, or we had a feeling that Baylor had one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And they were going to have a powerful running game, or at least it looked like, with Bryson Washington, even with Dawson Prendergrass hurt for the whole season. Now, I have some stats that I wrote down here. Where are they? Okay, so this is interesting. I don't know if you know this. Bryson Washington is 9th in all of college football in total rushing yards, like 417.
Would not have guessed that.
Yeah, me neither. So I looked it up. Baylor, you ready for this one? Hang on to your hat. Is third. Oh, I'm sorry. Bryson is third in the nation in rushing attempts with 83. Right?
What?
Yes. So, and I don't know what that is. Like, if it's a lack of throughout the country, there's a lack of dedication.
I guess so, because I feel like we haven't fed him as much as I would like.
Dude, so do I. And I think that's sort of like a reflection of where we are. And in college football, maybe. I mean, even the Big 12 this year.
And and I'll say this, Pete. I think most teams now, and we've seen Ohio State do this. They just put 2 guys in the NFL that are both going to be very successful. Most teams, I think, want 2 guys toting the rock now. You don't want to put it all. And what sucks for Baylor is I think I actually undervalued that Dawson Pendergrass loss in the preseason because I think Caden Knighton's going to be a very good player. I think he is a good player. He had 6 touches for 120 yards the other day in Stillwater, so he's a baller. But nobody on that roster does what Pendergrass did for this team last year, and they're missing it. They are. I think some of the lack of 4th down conversion, some of the red zone struggles get alleviated if you've got Dawson Pendergrass back there to spell Bryson. So that's probably part of it is I feel like Bryson's not getting fed enough, but it's because maybe mentally I'm expecting him to take Dawson's carries from last year as well as his kind of usual load. And obviously if he's 3rd in the country in carries, he's obviously getting a decent workload, but I always want him having the ball,
What do you think? And I didn't know this, and I know you did, but I didn't know Michael Turner was a 4-star.
He and Caden. Yeah.
So what did you see from Michael Turner? I learned by watching the game and then listening to Grayson Grundhaver does a kick-ass job.
He's so good, man. Yeah.
He's so good. So he talked about Turner post-game. I guess Michael Turner had a really bad injury his senior year in high school.
He did.
And so he's seemingly recovered from that now.
Well, and I'll tell you, because he was even questionable for the first 3 or 4 games this season. I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I don't know if he's fully healthy. Like, that was my first thought watching him run, because when you watch his high school tape, the stuff that got him to that 4-star grade, he was graded higher than Caden Knighton coming out. He was the headline of last year's recruiting class. But he is so explosive, and I just didn't quite see that same explosiveness Saturday. Now, part of that is he's playing against college athletes and not high school athletes. Yeah. But I heard them talking about this with who was I watching in the NFL yesterday that they were talking about recovering from. They were saying like it takes maybe a year to come back from an ACL, but maybe 2 or 3 to kind of get that same level of like explosiveness. I mean, I know we saw that with RG3. Like, he came back a year after he tore his ACL at Baylor, but that was the year before the Heisman, and he was more explosive that next year, more athletic, more dynamic as a senior or a redshirt junior. So I like that Turner's getting carries. I think we're going to need him next season. And I hope he can stay healthy, and he's going to be a big piece for this team moving forward if he stays at Baylor.
Yeah, and it was encouraging to see him tote the rock on Saturday, and the Caden Knighton stuff too. The fumble was literally a result of him just being young and trying to get more yardage. I mean,
he'll learn.
You can live with that in a game like that. So I'm going to ask you this question, and if you have the answer, great. If you don't, I understand because I don't have it right now. But and I'm going to ask this question this week as I ramp up for this broadcast. By the way, we're going to have Wyatt Thompson on tomorrow, voice of the Kansas State Wildcats. Boy, the guy's got some pipes and he's got some amazing intel, and we'll be able to shed light on us exactly where Kansas State is. By the way, this is a team. Remember, their Arizona loss, I call these games randos. It was a random game from years prior. So that
like Baylor and Utah a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So Kansas State is 1-1 in the conference. And with Dylan Edwards back, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, maybe. Okay, maybe. So I think they're feeling a little better about their offense in this season after last week blowing out UCF. But back to Baylor's defense. Is this just a product that Baylor doesn't have the athletes? Simple as that. And if that's the case, what can they do? Like, is this one of the things where Dave just needs to get super creative and just start throwing the kitchen sink at some of these teams, right? And just getting super aggressive? Because if this defense is just lacks the firepower, right? Then maybe it's just not something you can do with your basic defense, right?
Terrence Ganaway and I looked this up yesterday on Please Bear With Me. Baylor's defense currently ranks 108th in yards allowed and 114th in points allowed in America. In 2022, Dave Aranda fired his defensive coordinator for having a defense that ranked 58th and 67th in the same.
And that was Ron Roberts, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So this defense is way worse than that. I asked the question, would Dave Aranda, the head coach, currently fire Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator? And the answer is probably yes, by the way. And so to answer your question, is this lack of talent? Yes, it is. There have been injuries. Losing Devin Turner preseason, I think, is unbelievably killer. Like, I think we're seeing that on the back end of that defense just about every week. Hope that guy gets healthy and is a Baylor Bear next season. But what's hard about that question, Pete, is it doesn't matter if it's a talent problem or a scheme problem that needs to be fixed. Both come back to Coach Aranda.
Yeah.
He needs to recruit and identify. And I think I've seen that as a theme. Does this guy identify talent well? People even talking about, and I think this is a little unfair, but people even talking about like paying DeQuan Finn $1 million last year to start 2 games and then be replaced by a much better Sawyer Robertson. Is there a talent identification issue? I'm not saying Dave Aranda is the one out there scouting all these players. Like, so it's not all Dave, but like something about how Baylor is going about saying, this guy in the portal, this guy on defense, it's not working. And what's so weird about that is offensively, I don't feel that way. Cole Wilson came in the transfer portal and has been lights out for the Bears. The year before that, it was Ashton Hawkins.
Kobe Prentice too. I mean, it seems
Kobe
like
Prentice has been outstanding. Kobe
Yeah.
Prentice is a great, actually, this is a great counterpoint. There's 2 transfer portal guys from 2 of the best programs in the country who are on Baylor's roster this year. Kobe Prentice comes from Alabama as sort of an underperforming slot receiver, and he's making big plays every single week. Do you know who the counterpoint to Kobe Prentice is? We got a cornerback from Ohio State named Calvin Simpson-Hunt, who was a similar position, kind of underperforming, kind of his recruiting status or like his athletic talent. He's a heck of an athlete. Dude can't even get on the field at Baylor. So somewhere in there, the way that this staff is identifying,
but that, Scotty, I would push back and say that is college football right now. It is.
I understand, but my point is not that you're not going to have misses. My point is for Baylor, all the swings and misses are on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, that's been odd.
Even that nose tackle, they were hyping up that nose tackle from Texas A&M. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. He's a third stringer, and Baylor is riddled with injuries, and he can't get on the field. So there has to be an adjustment long-term in identifying who you recruit to fit Dave Aranda's defense, because they are not doing it. They have not found anyone as good as Terrell Bernard or Jalen Petrie at fitting Aranda's defense. And of course, well, Scotty, they're both great NFL players. Yes, those are 2 generationally talented, but we've had no one close to that since. No one's performed that well. Keaton Thomas, probably the closest thing. Yeah. And yes, Dave Aranda has to scheme something different, because at the end of the day, the best coaches, I've seen it the most at the Texas high school football level, but in college, it's true too. You adapt to the players you have.
So that begs the question. And they've got to figure this out because there's only one Sawyer Robertson, dude. And I think like the way that this offense is playing and the way that I didn't even get to my point about Sawyer, right? Like we know he's atop the country in many categories for quarterback play, right? Like yards, touchdowns,
passing yards, passing touchdowns, and total touchdowns. He's number 1 in America right now.
And passing yards per game too. He's 1 or 2, I think. And so, like, I think you've got to figure it. There's no like, the Chicago Cubs, like wait till next year. Like this is it. Like, and you still are in a pretty good position here.
And here's what's incredible, Pete. I don't think Baylor's offense has played an A+ game yet.
Really?
I think they've had some A+ quarters, but I don't think they have put together a start to finish A+ performance yet. I would rank Saturday's performance as like a B. I think against SMU, if it was just the second half, fourth quarter, I might say A+, but like there were several times in that game we looked like a C. If this offense ever, and I'm hoping they will, maybe this weekend, puts out an A performance from first to fourth quarter, who knows how many yards Sawyer Robertson's going to put up this season? He could break the Baylor single season passing record. Like that's not out of reach.
No, it's not. One last note, and by the way, calling the game this week, I'm going to find out about a Heisman champion. So one last question about Baylor, and this was from watching the game yesterday or Saturday, and then talking to somebody who was at the game. They announced in the press box after the first half that was the most, I think, most total yardage that Oklahoma State had in the first half since like 2021 or so, like since right. Like
they outgained their season average in the first half.
This is not that's a bummer.
Horrid.
But hopefully Baylor can find what they had against Arizona State again and
you're right. And I don't remember if it was Terrence or Tim Watkins on Please Bear With Me yesterday pointed out Kansas State plays a very similar style of offense to Arizona State. Very similar. So absolutely Baylor's defense could rise up again. And if your offense just plays a B+ game again, you're probably beating Kansas State this weekend. But man, we're 5 weeks in and I've seen one good performance from that defense. And it was that Arizona State game.
Couple more Scotty topics, right? Okay.
Oh, let's go.
Bad Bunny.
Let's go.
So make sense of this for me. And not like I'm negative on it. I know Bad Bunny's a superstar and I know he wields a real big stick. Should we be excited about this? Are you excited about it?
I am excited about this. I wanted to mention this, and I don't want to get way too in the social political like weeds.
No, dude,
nobody
knock yourself out, dude.
Dude, I see like
I trust you won't say anything totally hyperbolic.
Well, I should have pulled up stats, Pete. I was not prepared for this segment, but it's probably like 30 or 40% of our country now speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
Roughly. I'm guessing 50% if you're in a state like Texas. And Lizzie from the corner is telling me probably more than that. I love this, man. I love this choice. I think, I don't listen. By the way, I've not once gone to Spotify and queued a Bad Bunny song. Not once. It's not for me.
Yeah.
But I think people undervalue how popular and huge he really is. And this is massive for the NFL. We were talking about how the NFL wants to get more international, wants to bring in more fans around the world, wants to appeal to cultures beyond just like the American South, right? This is how you do it. This is a great choice. By the way, did you see him on SNL this past year?
He's very funny.
He was hysterical.
Yes.
He was so good.
Yes.
And so I again, not every Super Bowl, like if it was my Super Bowl
anniversary show.
Yeah. If it was my Super Bowl halftime show, we would be doing Foo Fighters this year. Bring Coldplay back next year.
Yellow Card the year after
let's do Yellow Card every year. Sure. But it's not for me, right? This is for let's get the most. And I'll just be honest. Like, I think more people will get excited about this than others they've had on in the past 10 years. I think this is going to be a huge success. And so for the people that are like, I can't believe it's a Spanish speaking artist or, this or that, dude, by the way, he's incredible. The music, though it's not for me, is great. He's very good. And people across America and around the world are going to eat this up. I think when we
beat it with that, like Spanish speaking, like
Yeah.
city, like honestly, go to a football game, leave your house and go watch football. No, seriously.
That's right. No, you're exactly
leave
right.
your house and go watch football and see who you're surrounded by. It ain't all like blonde hair, blue eyed people. Like, so
it ain't a bunch of Scotties. That's right.
No, it's not. It's a bunch of, like, especially if you go to like a game in California or Florida or Texas. Like,
listen,
trust me,
it is going to be a phenomenal show. And I bet when we look back at the numbers after the Super Bowl, I would put money on it. You're not going to bet against me on this. It is going to be one of the most watched Super Bowl halftimes ever. It will rank very highly, and it's good.
I like that.
It's good for the NFL. Yeah.
Good call. All right. One more Scotty topic, because this is another one. When he requests something, we're talking about it. Lamar Jackson, a quick, like, retrospective on his career right now. And I say retrospective because you got to look back at, like, the eye-opening numbers, but then you look at present day. I love the guy. I love him as a quarterback. I love him as a dude. His legacy's in limbo, you say, and why is that?
I just saw, and it may just be my algorithm, right? You can never trust social media too much. I just saw so many on my feed Ravens fans, when you look at their profile, saying, I'm done with him. Like, there are already people who are so fed up, and it's not because they think his talent's not there. Nobody with a brain thinks he's not talented. One of the 3 most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. It's because every time it's kind of the same way I feel about Dak in some ways, although those are very different quarterbacks. Every time there's a huge game on the line, he seems to shrink. Yeah. And it's just, again, it's just what it seems. He could go in the Super Bowl this year and we'll change our narrative, right? But I wanted your take on this injury thing, because I wasn't watching the game. I pulled up ESPN app, and I see Cooper Rush is playing, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm thinking Lamar tore his ACL. I'm thinking he got a concussion. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I start looking and I pull up the game, and it's like, oh, he went out with an injury that he never went to the medical tent for, never had anyone looking at him on the sidelines, and he's sitting on the sidelines, and the perception on Twitter is he quit. And I was like, that just devastated me, man, because I don't want to see that. I don't care who you are. Like, that's heartbreaking, gut wrenching. And also, like, I think he's better than that. Like, I have a higher opinion of him than that. And I don't want to be a doctor and be like, he wasn't really hurt, but like,
first of all, that's a great question. And I appreciate you asking me that. I can think in my head. I remember a conversation that stuck with me to this day when I was working for Gary Horton, and it was me and McShay and Jim Nagy. We were working, we were like consultants for the NFL Today, right? Like when we had Randy Cross or Craig James on. Craig and I talked about it. We would be at the NFL Today, and we would give them information pre-game, during games, as it related to, numbers and stuff, or exotic stats, before there were a lot of exotic stats, right? That was our job, to make those guys look smart. I have a guy doing stats for me and spotting for me every game I call too. But I remember through those engagements and through all the work we did with those guys, Jerry Glanville told me something that stuck with me to this day. He was like, that is the most serious indictment you can make of an NFL team, player, or coach, is that they quit. So, like, if you're going to say that somebody quit, you better be goddamn sure that they quit. And so I don't get with any of that, like people on Twitter saying, and now if Mark Andrews comes out and says, yes, Lamar quit on us, I'm not saying it's inconceivable or it could never happen, but I need to hear it from somebody in that building before I even react to that. As for the fans having trouble with Lamar Jackson and his success rate in clutch moments, I agree with I understand their frustration. In fact, I'll take it back to John Elway. John Elway was a choke artist, air quotes, until he wasn't, right? But in reality, he was not a choke artist. He was, and maybe choke is a little extreme. Let me rephrase that. John Elway couldn't win the big game. He couldn't win the big one, right? But he had shown his ability to come through in several AFC championship games, obviously the drive being paramount to all those efforts. So we were sort of waiting on the ball to bounce John Elway's way. But after I think it was obviously he got beat by New York in the Super Bowl in Pasadena, and then they got crushed by the 49ers. It was like, okay, like he's never going to be able to do it. And then he gets Terrell Davis, right? He gets more help defensively, and the Broncos, this one's for John. You remember Pat Bowlen handing him the Super Bowl, and then they go ahead and win it the next year. So I think it's a little bit of a rush to judgment to say Lamar Jackson will never win it, right? Because you never know. But all you can make your assessment and prediction on is based on history and trends. And the history and trends are not looking good for Lamar Jackson. Like, he is not even, and I say all this to say, he's not even in that can't win the big one situation that John Elway found himself in for too long, which was really tough for him at the time. Lamar Jackson is in like, dude, this guy, he can't get to the Super Bowl. This is week 5 or week 4, whatever the hell it is. I get so confused between college and the NFL. Like, whatever happened yesterday, he didn't perform on a big stage against the Chiefs team that we don't know if they're, like kind of convulsing on the mat, right? Or if they are just the Chiefs and they're late to the party. We're going to find out soon. But Lamar Jackson, I understand Ravens fans being fearful of this thing, just not having what it takes, because they haven't even seen him make a Super Bowl yet. I say even because we're talking about one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. To say he quit, like, that's rubbish. Beat it with that. I need somebody to be like, hey, this guy,
well, that's why I asked you, right? Like,
yeah.
I would like to assume no, and we've seen it before. Like Anthony Richardson did last season, right? Like Anthony Richardson did. So
Anthony Richardson and Lamar Jackson, that's not fair.
They're not. But that's why I said, like, it has happened, but I always want to assume the other.
Yeah.
But I will say the optics are not good, and I can understand why folks are frustrated, especially if you're a Ravens fan. I totally understand the frustration. And Pete, I'm wondering, I said last week after I watched him play, who'd they play on Monday Night Football?
Detroit.
Thank you. I asked on Zach Owen's show if he'd regressed. He took 7 sacks in that game. Mostly because he was backpedaling 20 yards and then couldn't escape. And I'm wondering I hope the dude's all right. I hope he gets back to playing. I mean, he's one of the most electric players in the world ever when he's on. So I want to see.
He's like my brother Michael's favorite player. My brother Michael.
He's incredible, man.
He calls him Lamb Jack. He loves calling him Lamb Jack. Okay, 1 second. I got one more topic I want to cover, and then we'll get out of here. So the Big 12. We talk a lot about, will the Big 12 possibly have a case to make for multiple bids in the college football playoff. Okay. I actually was thinking this weekend, dude, you could make a case, and I'm pulling up the schedule for one team in particular here, and I'm like an old guy, so I navigate my phone like I'm 80, which there's nothing wrong with being 80, but mostly people that are 80 years old will tell you they don't do very well with electronics. Okay. So week 5, Utah beat the brakes off West Virginia, 48-14. Utah's not ranked anymore because they got blitzed at home by Texas Tech. Okay. Utah, that win was so important for Utah and for me too, as somebody who watches this league and is trying to see what's real and what's not. At the end of the day, Utah is like really good up front, and they're sharp at quarterback. And for all we know, according to Kyle Whittingham, Devin Dampier was not at 100% when he played that game against Texas Tech. Okay. When you look at the remainder of their schedule, Utah has a huge game coming up in a few weeks. They play Arizona State, and then they have BYU, then Colorado, Cincinnati, Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas. Like, if Utah is any good, right? If they are the team that we thought they might have been or were moments before taking the field against Texas Tech. And right now, in my mind, I'm like, Texas Tech could be that good, right? They have an appointment with Houston this weekend on Saturday night. That's going to be a huge game. You know, the way things have been going for Texas Tech coming off a bye, in the world I'm living in right now, making this point, they could roll Houston. And all of a sudden we're talking about Texas Tech like, man, they have this collection of talent and they're vibing and vibrating at a level so high that this is like a top 5 team in the country, okay? Because they certainly have the horses. And then you start to think, wait a minute, Utah, Kyle Whittingham, powers of the Pac-12 for so long, came out of this, the start of the season like gangbusters, strong up front, right? A couple exciting guys who play both ways, and Kyle Whittingham as your coach. I'm like, this might be this could be a playoff team. And then you talk about, well, you got Texas Tech. Iowa State certainly looks like they're ready for it. I'm saying this because it's actually a genuine thought I had today, and I'm not over the stove cooking up some bullshit, I promise. I think that Utah has an opportunity if they can beat Arizona State and beat BYU, which are not unthinkable tasks. This could be a team that, like, all of a sudden catapults itself back into that postseason picture. And then you're talking about maybe 3 Big 12 teams in the college football playoff. Now, let me bring in Scotty, and I'll let him rebut.
Slow down. There is no way until hell freezes over.
Tell
we're
me
getting
why.
3. There's
tell
no
me
way.
Tell me why this would never happen.
Because you have to believe that the Big 12 is worthy of 3 spots, and you might.
What about their preseason worth? I mean, they're definitely all alone as the third best conference.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Think?
I'm sorry. There's no way that committee, even chaired by Mac Rhodes, puts 3 Big 12 teams in. There's just no shot. There's no shot. I could see 2.
Utah wins the Big 12. Then
Utah's not winning the Big.
And they beat Texas Tech, and then you've got Iowa State. Huh?
Brother, Utah winning the Big 12 is where this scenario is just whack. They're not winning the Big 12.
If I told you this time last year that Arizona State was going to win the Big 12, you would have laughed me out of this room.
Yeah, but we saw what happened when Utah went up against one of the best teams in the Big 12, and they got shellacked at home. It wasn't even close, Pete. That game wasn't close. It's not like they lost on a last-second field goal and they could get back and get vengeance. They looked bad in that game, brother. They're not. Utah's out of the picture. The Big 12 teams competing here.
Out of the picture.
Yeah, they're done, dude. They're done. They're done for me. They're going to lose to Baylor, dude. And Baylor's not that good, okay? Let me talk my talk for a minute. Tech is absolutely in the picture. Iowa State might be the favorite. It's those 2 at the top. Can't count out BYU yet, although there's some questions, I think, after this past week. I think Arizona State, Baylor, Kansas, Utah, kind of in that next tier where, sure, hypothetically, but I just don't see it. I think it's. I just can't see who's going to beat Tech or Iowa State at this moment, man. I just can't see it.
All right.
Those teams, those teams are kind of, at least through 5 weeks, head and shoulders above everybody else.
I will say this. I will challenge you and say that Utah is not cooked. Now, the 3 teams getting in, that's where you can totally shut me down.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, the committee just won't. The committee just won't. If that scenario happened, Utah would get in, and maybe the team like Tech would get in, but an Iowa State or whoever was not in that championship game, I think, would not get in. That would be wild.
All right. You brought me back down to earth. Okay. Well, look, tomorrow, somebody else who will give us a nice strong dose of reality, Wyatt Thompson. He's going to join us, right? And I'm going to talk to Wyatt about all Baylor fans need to be paying strict attention to last week's game, because Chris Kleiman and his offensive coordinator, Matt Wells, whether it was personnel driven or whether it was a new concept to go back to their old concepts, Avery Johnson ran the football more. Dylan Edwards was back and was absolutely electric, and they ran more of those tight end sets. You know, guys now love to call it like 11 or 12, but they were running double tight that speak English, right? And not act like, they're running a lot of 11. They're running a lot of 11. All right, let's just talk. I get it if you're talking to Dave Aranda and he tells you that, but that stuff, they're running like 11 personnel. That's up there with QB1 in the quarterback room. It's like, dude, you've never been in the quarterback room. You don't know what it's like to be in a room where they're drawing up the 11 personnel. I'm not trying to be. Look, I was barely there, okay, but I always get a kick out of that. Yeah, we're going to talk to Wyatt Thompson tomorrow, though, about how Kansas State has recaptured maybe some of that spunk and pizzazz that had them ranked top 20 preseason, right? Maybe they're not finished yet. We're going to find out on Saturday, but Wyatt Thompson will help us before we get there. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics will be back tomorrow. Hey, make sure you like and subscribe. Go back. We had a lot of good movement last week with the show. We're, I think, at 88,000 followers, or real close, closing in on 90. So, I'd love to get to 100,000 by the new year. And we're all in this together, man. I'm having fun, and I appreciate this opportunity. Like anything in life, sometimes when I get up and start the day, like I get in here to this makeshift studio that we've created, and it's awesome. But like something's out of place, and something is not. You got to be flexible in life, right? Because I come in here and things aren't perfect, and I want to lose my shit. And then I remember that, I'm nobody important. I got something big to tell you guys. So yesterday, this is important, and I'm going to get some clips of this for you. I don't even think my man Visser knows this yet. He'll enjoy this if he's watching. So I had, I do my sober podcast, The Payoff with Pete, Stories of Sobriety, which you can find online. And I got a message last week, because I get busy during football season, and I'm not proud of this, but that is, of course, right? Like when people get sober, they say like, what's the one thing that falls through the cracks when you get busy after you get sober is like, you're like spiritual fitness, right? For me, it's like going to AA meetings. Like I'm going to go to one here at noon today just to kind of like stay in my rhythm. But like you have to continue to work it, right? Because what do? You let the gifts of sobriety get in the way of the gifts of sobriety. So now you're busy, you're doing all this, you're not going to meetings, you're not talking to other people in recovery. Okay, fine. So in my life, that's reflected on a professional level. Sometimes that Payoff with Pete podcast can get lost in the shuffle. So I got another episode coming out, and it's I got an email last week from a public relations woman out of Cleveland, and she's like, "Hey, I did an interview with a woman who was a former meteorologist, still is a meteorologist in Cleveland, Holly Strano. Check her out. She's got an awesome story of recovery. She got sober, I think about 3 years ago now. And this woman was like, I saw what you did with Holly. Would you be interested in talking to gold medal figure skater Oksana Bayul? And I was like, yeah, like let's do it. And I was like, I have time Sunday night before things get crazy. So I spent an hour yesterday talking to Oksana Bayul, who won a gold medal, first gold medal winner under the Ukrainian rule, or not rule, under the Ukrainian flag after they broke away from the Soviet Union. Forgive my terminology. I'm sure I said that wrong 100 ways. But she's sober 2 years now. And like the woman is just a total vibe. She was so cool. When somebody is whatever spiritual fitness you work to find, right? Whether you're a Buddhist or whether you're spiritual because of your work in recovery, whether you go to church every day, whether you're a Muslim, when you're vibing, right? And you're like throwing 100 miles per hour, people can tell. Like she's throwing 105. And to talk to her yesterday and how that's why I got on this topic. She's totally does not take herself seriously. Like she's just rolling with life. And of course she's having a lot of success now again. So we're going to put that out this week. She told me an interesting topic, and this is the last thing I'll say. It's only 11:31, so we're a minute over now. I mentioned, she knew that I was a play-by-play guy. And, one connection I knew that we had was Vern Lundquist. So I don't know Vern. I just adore him. But I was like, I can remember a conduit to your gold medal. And the coverage of that was obviously Scott Hamilton and Vern Lundquist. She's doing a charity event for Scott Hamilton, by the way, to fight cancer. And that's going on in Ohio. And so you got to look that up. I'm going to put all that together when I put this payoff episode out, but it's going to be October 10th and 11th in Ohio, and it's for cancer, and Scott Hamilton's putting it together. So a special event, they're driving money. She's literally doing it because it's for Scott and because her mother passed away of cancer. No other skin in the game for her. But just, she doesn't take herself seriously, man. And it was just such a delight to talk to her about that. And when we talked about Vern, she said, you know, he came up to me at the Olympics. Now, she, at this point in time, does not speak hardly any English, but he's got to get the name of her town right in the Ukraine, like the exact place you grew up in. So she said, here's this nice, sweet man coming up to me. And he is like laser focused in the nicest way possible of getting my hometown right. Now, this is a girl who was 16 at the time, who had just started to skate professionally, like in big events, not even professionally, like, you know, 12 months earlier, 11 months earlier. She's like so overcome with like emotion and interest. And like, I think she was honored that Vern cared. And to me, that's like for all young broadcasters, man, everybody out there, like, if you don't know how to say something, walk up to that person, whether it's pregame, you can find him on the field, right? Or whether it's, you know, Al Michaels had the thing where he would call the house of the people in Hawaii where he was doing minor league games, and he would get the proper pronunciation of their son's name. You know, Carter Blackburn, who's still in the game, amazing guy, does an amazing job. He, as recently as 5 years ago, was telling me that he will call the Chamber of Commerce for a small town if he can't understand how to say a guy's name or his town. So like, that's just little stuff, but not only is it cool that Vern worked his ass off to get it right, it's cool that he was able to touch people like Oksana Bayul in the process. So that show is coming out soon. I'll let you know. That's it. We're done. Scotty, go do whatever else you have to do. Thanks to Chris Visser. Thanks to Scotty Swingler, Rogue Media Network, Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovakics. Back tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.